That's much better.
Great. Mhm.
Much better. Okay, that's right. And you are muted, by the way, so you're talking and we can't hear you. You can. That's much better.
Great. Mhm.
That's much better. Okay, that's right.
Awesome. So I think we are good now. We will be letting everyone in shortly.
Okay.
We also do have a link which I will share with you all shortly. Are we good?
Yes.
We are.
Okay. So 1 second. Let me go to chat. I have just shared the YouTube link, and we will also put that on our Facebook in case anyone has it. So we're letting everyone in, okay?
Great.
So welcome everyone. We're pleased to have you here. And we will start very, very shortly. We're just giving a few more seconds for a couple of people to join. So 1 more minute and then we will start. We're starting at exactly 5 minutes after the hour. In the meantime, feel free to unmute yourself or indicate that you would like to say hello to the author. If you want to turn on your camera, also feel free to do that. Let's make it a homely affair as much as possible. Okay, it's 5 minutes after the hour. We will start. My name is Jude Fokwang. I am zooming in from Denver, Colorado, where we are snowed in. It's 11 a.m. here. It is 10 a.m. in San Jose. It's 7 p.m. in Cameroon and in Berlin. So good evening to you, 7 p.m. in Abuja. It's a pleasure to have you join this event. So thank you for being here. We are launching our first memoir. This is the first. We take this aspect of our publishing very seriously. The editorial board has agreed that this is a priority area and that we want to encourage more of our own folks to tell their story. And it is a singular delight for me to have Mr. Jumbam launch this book today. It's been a couple of years in the making. This book came out in 2022, I believe. And we've been planning for this day. So it's a big pleasure for all of us. For those who are new to the platform, and by that I mean Spears Media Press, we've been around for a decade. And our vision is to build a community of readers and authors and to celebrate world-class literature. And you would see today the kind of community we have built. Almost everyone involved in this event today is part of our community, whether they are authors, editorial board members. This is exactly the kind of vision that we had. It's a decolonized space. This is our own space. And it gives me great joy to be able to see this happening. This is not just some part of a discourse. It is really happening. And so welcome once again. I'm just here to welcome everybody. Someone is going to steer the affairs right through to the end. And that is none other than Gil Ndi Shang. But he's going to be introduced by another editorial board member, who is Victor Gomier. So over to you, Victor.
Do you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Okay. All right, thank you. So, Gil Ndi Shang is the co-leader of project titled Black Atlantic Revisited at the Cluster of Excellence, Africa Multiple at the University of Bayreuth. He's a member of the Young Colleague Program of the Bavarian Academy of Sciences and Humanities. He was a Feudal Fellow of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation at the University of de los Andes in Colombia. He holds a PhD in comparative literature from the University of Bayreuth in Germany, where he recently completed his habilitation. That was back in 2022. Gilbert is the author of State Society, Narrating Transformations in Selected African Novels, published to 2017, and Memories of Violence in Peru and the Congo, 2022. He has co-edited Words and Artworks, a relative, or what you call a relational view on artistic practices from Africa and the diaspora. Tracks and Traces of Violence, published again 2024. And he is also editor for Rewriting Past, Imagining Futures, Critical Explorations of Contemporary African Fiction. In addition to monographs and book chapters, Gilbert has articles that appear in peer-reviewed journals such as English for Africa, French Studies in Southern Africa, and Comparative Literature Studies. He is author of 2 creative works, Letter from America, published 2019, and The Radio and Other Stories, published in 2022. He is currently working on a forthcoming book titled Bodies in Context, Intersections of Corporality in the Novels of Gabriel Garcia and Sonny Labu Tansi. Gilbert recently obtained the Heisenberg Professorship with sponsorship from the German Research Council, the DFG. With that, I call on you to welcome our moderator for today's launching, Professor Dr. Gilbert Ndi Shang, like the Germans would like to put it, Professor Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Victor, my fellow sojourner, as far as the Spears family is concerned. Thank you, Spears, for making a hearth for us, a meeting place where authors can commune and share their works. They don't only publish, but they publish and they are accompanied by the publishing house, directed by the one and only Professor Jude Fokwang, also an author, but also a seasoned intellectual. It is a singular honor for me actually to moderate this session, particularly because if you look at my trajectory and look at Martin's own, you might only have to say there are some. It could be a matter of generation, because we have the same kind of intellectual trajectories with some differences, of course, but we are of the A1 domain and also comparative literature. So I've taken interest in Martin's work over a long time, actually. Back in those Ngwakele days when you would save 100 francs to go to the internet and then to carry out an assignment, and you end up landing on an article, on a blog by Martin Jumbam, and you end up spending your 200 francs reading what he wrote, because he's one of the foremost bloggers, with interesting input on Cameroon history, also on some very historic personalities of Cameroon history, African history, and also interesting articles on African literature. So it is thanks to Spears Media that I got to then meet Martin. I would not say but I would say in person, though virtually, but in person. And he hasn't ceased to also impress us with a string of wonderful works. I was privileged to actually read and I moderated, I think, the session, the launching of Bits of Memory, which I would qualify to be on the fictional side of memoir, while what we are here today to celebrate is a memoir, so non-fictional creative writing. So I'm really, really elated, and I would say I've actually gone through these texts twice. And in this epoch where you have the difficulty of just focusing to read a book, you have WhatsApp messages ringing left and right, you have this, and I mean, to read a book twice means that you have genuine interest and that the author really, really convinces you with his style and also with his thematics. Another anecdote is that some few days ago, when the elections in the US were not going in my favor, usually I stay up overnight, I had to finish. I was undertaking the second reading of this book, and when I looked at CNN John King's Magic Wall going in a different kind of direction, I quickly had something to focus on, and this was this book. So it was a good pretext to me to just forget about the reality of the US elections. So that tells you how wonderful a read this book is. And as time goes on, we are going to be inviting you to, to make pledges, to get copies of this book for yourself, for your friends and acquaintances, and for any loved one. So I'm really, really, really elated to be part of this event and to be steering, this wonderful literary jamboree. We are in for a wonderful program, and we are going to listen to the author at some point. We are going to have a quiz on the author's works and also his life. And you are also going to have the chance, of course, to interact with the author, to ask questions, and also to share your own experiences. And in relation to memoir writing, because memoir writing is about connecting. Memoir writing is not autobiography, because memoir has as intention to connect with the reader. So it is not a solipsistic kind of writing. It's also meant to, to make the reader to identify in one way or the other with the trajectory and with the themes that are discussed in a particular in a particular book. So in this memoir, I identify myself at several levels, and I think you also as the reader, it's not just Martin's story, it's Cameroonian history, it is the history of education in Cameroon, it is church-society relationship, it is a lesson of resilience and humility, it's a belief in one's dreams, so there's so much to identify with. And yes, I would invite you to really get a copy of this book. But for now, I am going to introduce the author. Somebody was meant to do that, but think Irenaeus is not around. If I'm mistaken, please let me know so that he takes. Seemingly not
around.
Not around. So I'm going to present Martin Jumbam. Martin Jumbam holds a bilingual, that's English and French degree from the University of Yaoundé, Cameroon, and a diploma in Spanish studies from La Universidad Complutense in Madrid, Spain. A maîtrise en littérature comparée from la Sorbonne Nouvelle, Paris 3, a diploma in translation and interpretation from Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and a master's degree in comparative literature from the University of Alberta in Edmonton, Canada. He worked for over 20 years for an American oil company, Pecton, Cameroon, in the port city of Douala, Cameroon, before serving for 4 years as the general manager of la Maison Catholique de la Communication Sociale, Macacos, the Catholic media house of the Archdiocese of Douala. He is the author of My Conversion Journey with Christian Cardinal Tumi, published by Langa Publishing House in 2014. Beats of Memory by Spears Media. We were here some few years ago during Corona to launch this book together. A terrific read. And a co-author of My Night in Captivity, again published by Spears Books in 2021. A memoir of Christian Cardinal Tumi that details his one-night ordeal in the hands of separatist forces in Dop, in the restive northwest region of Cameroon in 2019. He lives in Douala, although he is actually tuning in now from California, and he works as a freelance translator, a conference interpreter, journalist, and a motivational speaker. That is Martin Jumbam, and this is just a cross-section of what he is up to. He wears several caps. So Martin, we are going to give you some few minutes to say a word to the audience. Seems to be growing, and I hope that many are going to join us as we go along. So Martin, you have the floor, please. You need to, okay, unmute yourself. Let me see.
Okay, I think
Yes,
that's now.
yes, now, yes.
All right, thank you very much, Gilbert. It's, your wonderful words. I thank everyone who is here today. Thank the SPS Media for the opportunity they've given me to have my works out. You mentioned Beats of Memory, which is the first book of mine that the SPS Media published. And it was, you mentioned coronavirus, the COVID-19. It was a product of COVID-19 because it's something which I fished out of my archives when I was locked in California, and I got that book out, sent it to Spears Media, and I'm glad Professor Jude Fokwang and his team thought it was worth publishing. They did. And then what we are here now today to present, from the Highlands of Nkar to the world, is actually also it's just a collation of the many things I had written, linked to my trajectory, as we said, and then I decided to put them all together. Thanks also to the encouragement of a number of friends of mine, Tande Debussy, who's part of the SPS team, Professor Jude himself, who thought that I could put this together and they would publish it. And then other friends of mine, who have been reading me all along, reading my blogs and what I've been writing, and they thought that if I put all this together, it could come up in a book form, which is what I did. And I thank Spears Media for accepting to publish it. And I thank everyone who is here today. As you say, the number is growing. We hope to have more people. And, we're in for a good book launch today, one of several. I congratulate Spears Media for these opportunities you give us, the writers whom you publish, to express themselves and be seen and be heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin, for those wonderful words. And yes, the program is on good footing, and we are going to now introduce the chief launcher for the evening. Evening on my side. I know it's still, the day is still young in many parts of the world where you are watching from. Yeah, so I'm going to present the chief launcher for this book launch. And that is no other person than Mr. Henry Kefen. Mr. Henry Kefen is a finance and corporate governance professional with over 35 years of experience in internal audit, accounting, finance, internal controls, risk management, compliance, and corporate governance. His extensive global experience runs across the following key economic sectors, such as oil and gas operations, banking, and supply chain management. Henry holds a Bachelor of Science in Accounting from the University of Sussex in UK and a master's degree in tax administration from the University of Douala, Cameroon. He is an alumnus of IMD Business School in Lausanne, Switzerland, and he's attended several conferences and webinars globally on compliance, third-party due diligence, banking, oil and gas, risk management, and internal audit practices. That's our chief launcher, Mr. Kefen Henry. Yes, so now, I don't know if he's around to just 1 second, just say something, or yes, just.
Yes. Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much, moderator. My name is Henry Kefen. I'm dialing in from Douala. Unfortunately, we don't have lights this evening. It's a normal thing that happens at writing. So I think when Martin called me a few days back that I should be chief launcher, and I told myself, I'm not a literary person. How come Martin can be giving me this task? But I think what Martin had in mind was what I've done in the past in way of having so much interest in reading and trying to write a few things, articles and so on in newspapers, and of course, social media. I'm sure that's what drove Martin to think that I could be the chief launcher in a literary work like this one. So I took up the challenge and I penned down a few words. If you don't mind, I'll just go through a couple of minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, honored authors, and dear friends. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. It is with great pleasure and excitement that I welcome you all to this unique virtual book launch ceremony. Today, we gather to celebrate the release of an extraordinary work and honor the journey, perseverance, and creativity that led to its realization. This is a moment of pride, reflection, and inspiration, not only for the author, but for everyone present here today, who values the power of words to impact lives, shape minds. As we gather to celebrate this literary milestone, Martin's latest literary achievement, that's from the Highlands of Nkar to the world, particularly here in Cameroon. Writing a book is one thing, but encouraging readership is another, especially in a context where reading habits have declined. This brings me to a critical question I'd like us all to consider. What was the last time you read a novel? That is the question. For those of you who can proudly say a month, I commend you. But for many, these questions may prompt some reflection. There is a popular saying that if you want to hide something from an African, you put it in a book. This stereotype persists because, unfortunately, it reflects a reality for many. But tonight, I challenge all of us to change that narrative. We must commit to supporting African authors by reading their works. Books like From the Highlands of Nkar to the World are vital to understanding our heritage, our culture, and our place in the world. Reading itself is an enriching habit that has many benefits. It sharpens our minds, expands our vocabulary, and strengthens our ability to think critically. Regular reading has also been shown to reduce stress, increase empathy, and improve focus, which are all qualities that are valuable not only to individuals, but to communities. Moreover, by reading books from our own culture, we gain a deeper appreciation of our identity and heritage, which strengthens our sense of belonging and pride. Today, despite the fast pace of modern life, reading remains an essential part of my routine in particular. Whether it is a novel, a report, or an academic paper, reading informs my decisions and broadens my perspective. It is a habit I encourage everyone to develop and maintain. Let us commit tonight to read at least one book every month, starting with From the Highlands of Nkar to the World. Martin has made it accessible to ensuring that copies are available directly from the publisher's Spears Media Press and also on Amazon. So there's no excuse not to have a copy or start reading. Thank you all for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the rest of the program, and most importantly, that you take the time to savor From the Highlands of Nkar to the World. With that, I officially declare this virtual book launch open. May this event inspire, motivate, and elevate us all. Thank you, and let us now embark on this journey into the remarkable world created by Martin Jumbam in this and other works. Thank you very much and enjoy the event.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry Kefen, for that clarion call for us to make reading part of our life. And when you actually read Martin's works, you also notice that to be a good writer, you must necessarily be a good reader. And so Martin's trajectory is also rich of sources from which he actually draws inspiration. And yes, thank you very much. And at this juncture, while each and everyone is preparing their, getting ready to actually say how many copies he or she is going to buy, and for him or herself, for family members, for friends, acquaintances, I'm going to, of course, give the microphone now to the Spears team for some marketing information. Jude, Lillian, I think you have the floor now.
Oh yeah, thank you, Martin. Thank you, Mr. Kefen, and also thank you, Gilbert. You're all doing a really fantastic job. I think this is an opportunity for us to support the author and to live up to the call of the chief launcher to encourage reading. And if you're not a reader, I'm sure you can find a reader in your family, or you probably have a friend who is a reader. And so this is an opportunity for us to support not only the culture of reading, but also support the author, who is the writer. And so this book is currently on a discounted sale on our website. The link has been posted in the chat. So if you open the chat window, you should be able to see it there. It is discounted. Other works by the author are also discounted. So Beats of Memory, in case you have not had the opportunity to read that, I encourage you to also find that on our website. And then, of course, the one he co-wrote with the late Cardinal is also on our website, heavily discounted. So if you buy all three of those, I think it would make for a very good package, particularly for a Christmas gift to a loved one. So hopefully everyone is going to take advantage of this sale and gift the gift of reading, the love of reading, and share that and share the joy of authorship as well with their loved ones. So thank you. If there are people who want to pledge specific numbers, as the moderator said, we will leave this open now to, would invite everyone to be able to unmute themselves and to share how they wish to support the author. All right. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Great. So the floor is now open for pledges. And yes. Let this be your Christmas gift to somebody in your family, in your friends cycles, and also your colleagues. Already in the audience, I see great readers. I saw my own brother, Dr. Dr. Raymond Budji, who is also a SPS family member. And yes, he's connecting actually from Qatar. So Jude, we have people in the audience from almost all the nooks and crannies of the world.
That's
Yes.
amazing. That's super.
Oh,
I
yes.
also see that Irenaeus is in the room now. Irenaeus, are you there? All right. Maybe he's having some tech issues.
Yes.
He could have logged in and then ended up being kicked out. Who knows? Sometimes it's also the Wi-Fi or your internet connection.
I can see Joyce Ash there. We're glad to have her with us.
So Gilbert, we can always come back to that.
Yes, this is
Speaking.
actually a standing order. I mean, so till the end of this program, you are free to register your pledges, and then we will, of course, make that known. Okay, then now this is a very interesting juncture of our program where those who already have their copies are going to display it, and we're going to have a family photo together. So yes, you just raise your copy up, and we're going to have a screenshot that captures everyone. If you haven't gotten your copy yet, maybe just raise your your hand. Is my copy visible enough? Okay, yes. So I think Lillian will take care of the.
All right, I'm going to do a countdown and then
Yes, exactly.
do that. Okay. So please turn on your videos.
Can I just say something before we proceed? Just so we don't have a screenshot with all these invisible faces, we encourage you to please turn on your camera. Please, 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 you're here for Martin. You're here to celebrate him. Turn on your camera and just cheer if you don't have a copy of the book. That way, the screenshot will look far better than what I'm seeing right now.
Oh, yes.
So please turn on your camera. And we will also unmute everybody just so we can allow people to congratulate Martin. Everyone should be able to unmute
All right.
themselves at this point.
3.
Yep.
All right, we're still waiting. A few people are yet to turn on their camera. Please turn on your camera.
I want to
All
congratulate
right, now
Martin.
you see why we had to mute everyone.
The family of
Congratulations, Martin.
Madam.
Okay, if you
Congratulations,
identify
Martin.
who is
I
talking
haven't
out of
bought the book
order,
yet.
so
I'm
we
gonna
can
buy
mute
it.
that
God
person.
bless you.
Congratulations to the
invite
author.
our
Congratulations.
daughter,
Congratulations, Mr. Martin.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks for inviting me. Congratulations.
Means they will unmute when the time comes.
All right, I
Why
think
are
we'll
those
proceed
others
now with the
talking and I
screenshot.
cannot talk?
Okay.
So everybody, please get ready. Congratulations to the author. Congratulations.
So
I'm going to do a countdown from 3 to 1, and then we'll do the screenshot. Thank you. So 3, 2, 1.
Congratulations.
Go.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Martin.
Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to the author.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm going to go to the second screen based on how I see things on my end.
I can't see the others.
Putting them more. Great. Thank you all. Thank you all. Okay.
All right, over to you, Gilbert.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you
Thank you
so-
for participating.
Thank you very much to everyone. And yes, this book is a must read. It's actually, brings together a huge variety of interesting thematics. One of the themes that I really very much followed through was the initial, attempt for the vivre ensemble in the educational domain. And Martin is a product of that bilingual education, the first breed of bilingual Cameroonians. And just like the philosophy of vivre ensemble, it worked in some aspects, but also one could see the frictions, of the vivre ensemble when you bring people who have been groomed in two different educational subsystems together. So that's a very enduring theme in that book and many others. And I really, beckon you to get a copy of it.
Okay, we're walking in.
Yes, so we have to meet like everybody now. Okay, so I don't know if we have enough time for the musical interlude. Martin himself is a wonderful, he loves music, and you also listen to music as you're reading most of his memoirs. So I don't know if we have enough time for that. Jude, the control room, is that enough? We have enough time
We don't have something cute, but we can look for something.
Yes,
Martin,
please.
do you have a recommendation?
I didn't have a chance to say congratulations, Martin.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't have a particular choice of music. I was trying to get something from a musician friend of mine, but somehow due to perhaps internet connection and everything, it didn't come through. So I leave that to the control room to see what they can do.
Mr. Be proud of who we are. Mr. Yeah.
Yes, I was thinking of that, but I couldn't reach the musician. I didn't want to
Or any
use of
clip
piracy
by
or
Chili Wawaye, the top dance of Chili Wawaye from your area.
It's also the question of getting their permission to use
The-
their music and something like this.
Okay.
So we couldn't get, yeah.
Okay.
So if there's anything the Spears has there, perhaps from the past book launches, we can use that, I guess.
Since we don't have anything cute, may I suggest we bring that in maybe after a reading or two?
Oh yes, for sure.
Yeah, we can come back with that if we find something suitable.
Oh yes, my very own brother says that Dr. Raymond Gil Ndi Budji I'll need 2 copies of the current publication and 2 copies of the work on Cardinal Toomey. I will get to Jude on the 16th when I return to base to get them across to me. So thank you very much, Dr. Budji. And as a historian, you have a lot to gather from this current publication. I can assure you, and I know the work that you've done yourself, especially on on Christian education and its impact on society. I think you have a lot, to actually gather from this book. So thank you, and I hope more will still be coming in, more pledges will be coming in as we go along. At this juncture, we are going to have tidbits of the contents of this book, and so this is part 2 of our book launch, and we're going to have someone read an excerpt, and we're going to begin with, of course, a voice that has a particular punch of its own, by our own Joyce Ash, author's name, Professor Joyce Ash Kefen Budji, who will be reading a brief excerpt from the Highlands of Nkar to the World, 2-3 minutes duration. Joyce, it's your turn, please. I saw her. Yes, she's there.
Okay, so I'm unmuted now. And so I'm going to read from the chapter dealing with that's chapter 6 from Manowo Bay. And I'm sure Martin would realize why I chose that section, because of course he has his gaze on Seka girls. So I would I didn't time this, so just stop me when it's 3 minutes is up. I remember asking Augustine if there was a Catholic church nearby, and he said the nearest Catholic church was in Victoria, 4 miles away. The school officials authorized the bus to drop students wishing to attend religious services in town. The only catch being that the students had to walk back to campus in the afternoon, making sure they were on campus before 6 in the evening or risk punishment. Augustine said we could go to Mass on Sunday, and I was delighted to follow him. My Catholic instinct took over, and I wondered how students could stay away from church and not be worried they might lose their souls to the devil. For an answer, Augustine merely smiled and told me that we were not in a mission school and that I would soon get used to not going to church as often as I did in primary school. The first time we walked back from town through that thick forest, I felt scared, walking between huge trees that stood like sentinels along the road. Augustine and I had spent our childhood years on the open savanna plateaus and valleys of the northern grassfield region. But there we were, surrounded and hemmed in by trees, some as huge as houses and seemingly hundreds of years old. With time, however, I got used to walking back to campus each Sunday in the company of some classmates. I could not think of not attending Mass on Sunday because I had been taught and came to fervently believe that failing to attend Mass on Sunday was a mortal sin. Mass was at the Newtown Catholic Parish Church. Some Sundays, we were dropped off from the bus just when the girls from Seka Baptist College, the only female college in town, were going to their own church in Down Beach, Victoria. They walked in 2 long columns in their beautiful uniforms. That was how I always imagined secondary school children should look like, in a clean and neatly ironed uniforms. I had never thought I would be saddled with khaki shirts and trousers as we had in our own school. I had seen how beautifully dressed my brothers and their friends always appeared in clean shorts and white shirts, over which they wore sleeveless jacket-like sweaters. The Seka Baptist College girls looked resplendent in their immaculate uniforms with well-polished sandals on their feet. We would often stand watching as they filed past by, and if by curiosity any of them looked at us, some of us, the very shy ones, would turn our faces guiltily away. We, however, knew of some of our senior students who had struck relationships with those girls, some with already well-formed bosoms. That brought to mind the catechist's daughter in my school days in Binju, Kambe. The mere thought of being seen standing with a girl at the corner always scared the wits out of me. Although from time to time I began to hear even some of my classmates talking about having girlfriends, we always doubted their stories. It was once rumored that a classmate of mine was actually seen talking with one of those Seka girls. and we excitedly waited to hear what he was talking to her about. But it turned out that the girl in question was his cousin. Before the year was out, we had become familiar with just about every student on campus, be they from the two upper classes or from our own class, Anglophones as well as Francophones. Our class was not called Form 1, as was the case in other schools, but rather Sixième, following the French appellation. Everything on campus weighed heavily on the side of French. As our confidence bulged and familiarity with our surroundings firmed, the French language started to lose the frightening edge it had at the start, and we could hold reasonably long conversations in it.
Thank you, Joyce. You've proven me right, because when I was reading some sections, I was saying we need a second perspective on this. And having read your basket full of flames, I mean, like I said, there are some kind of, there could be a dialectic reading of your works, you know, one poetry and the other in form of a memoir. So, but there's a possibility for a dialogue there. Thanks so much. And that catechist's daughter actually followed the protagonist all through his life. As a memoir is a story of transformation, but of course there are aspects of the protagonist's life that sometimes resist change. So that's one of the aspects. Thanks so much for that wonderful reading. And we are now moving to the next. This is an appraisal, so a review, so to speak, which will be done by Lola. Lola has been there from the beginning. So Lola, you have the floor, please.
Everyone.
Yes, yes.
I want to thank, can you hear me?
Yes, you are
Please.
muted. Yeah, yes, we get you.
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we hear you. Yes, go on.
Okay. I am really excited to take part in this intellectual exercise, and I'm glad to have the opportunity to share my thoughts on the novel. I will go straight to the point for time constraints. This is my topic, marginalization and the consoling quest for intellectual fulfillment. A reading of Martin Jumbam's From the Highlands of Nkar to the World. Jumbam's From the Highlands of Nkar to the World is a compelling narrative combining memoir, colonial history, and Cameroon's national history of partition, focusing on its impact on the collective psyche of Anglophone Cameroonians, written in a style reminiscent of minority literature and featuring language characteristics of novels of empire from Africa and the West. The work goes beyond traditional minority literature. While minority literature often explores themes of belonging, identity, group power, social exclusion, and othering, the novels of empire typically center on cultural clashes and the efforts of the colonized to find both personal and collective voices. Jumbam's innovative narrative can be read as a personal history embedded within Cameroon's national and international histories. In this way, the author offers a panoramic view of life, the life of his ethnic community in a divided Cameroon. Although the novel's setting takes Jumbam from his native Nkar village through academic institutions in various parts of Cameroon to France, Spain, America, and Canada in pursuit of academic, intellectual, and professional fulfillment. Its historical backdrop spans the colonial period through the post-independence era. It emphasizes the impact of colonial legacies on the post-colonial nation states of Cameroon, where Jumbam and his ethnic community live. The novel's colonial historical orientation and its consequences for both the author and his ethnic community are clearly expressed through a religion, language, administration, and particularly the education system at Manowo Bay. And still with respect to the colonial orientation or historical orientation, but the novel explores religion, education, and administration in Nkar and other parts of the country and beyond. Other parts of the country, framed as a civilizing mission. In Jumbam's word, I quote, the first Christian missionaries, the Baptists, eventually followed by others, crossed to our own land, carrying a Bible with conflicting messages aimed at rescuing what was said to be our sinful souls from Satan's kingdom. As a narrative of personal experience, Jumbam's memoir traces the author's growth from childhood through adulthood or through adolescence to adulthood, with a focus on his religious, moral, spiritual, academic, and intellectual development. These elements are combined to foster his poetic, creative, journalistic, and intellectual productivity. Like his father, whose bitter, dehumanizing experiences of marginalization, discrimination, economic exploitation, and brutality under Nigeria pushed him to send his children to school to study and secure jobs to avoid similar experiences in the future. Jumbam understands the quest for education as a quest for intellectual fulfillment. I quote, this is what he says in justification of that. It is, however, the sacrificial lambs who received a Western-style education in missionary schools that were to emerge as the leaders of the new emerging country. And I think that the new emerging country in this context is the federated Cameroon nation state that emerged from the vestiges of colonial partitioning and was to eventually become a unitary state through the 1972 referendum. This historical perspective is clearly conveyed in Jumbam's novel through his experience of ethnic othering and the inequalities that characterized the secondary education system at Manowo Bay, where two linguistic groups, the Anglophone and the Francophone systems, coexist in unequal proportions, with the French retaining the lion's share in curriculum design, power, and positions of authority. In the face of the inequalities, Jumbam embarks on a consoling quest for academic and intellectual fulfillment, which he sees as the only path to finding a voice within the dehumanizing neo-colonial structures of the post-independence state. It should be noted that Jumbam's quest for intellectual and career fulfillment is also largely accredited to his father, Matthias. Unlike some family heads in Nkar village who perceived education as a breeding ground for rebellion, regarded converts as rebels determined to challenge paternal authority, and even disowned and intimidated those who imbibed it with threats of death, Matthias had quite a positive perception of Western education. He understood that only meaningful education would rescue the marginalized from exploitation, mental slavery, subjugation, social exclusion, and poverty. Like his father, Jumbam seems to emphasize the idea that colonialism was not entirely as detrimental as some critics suggest, since it provided the colonized with education, language, a voice with which to resist oppression and exploitation, and preparation for better jobs, and above all, intellectual fulfillment. The recognition that Western education could lead to intellectual and professional fulfillment, as well as serve as a means of liberation from discrimination, takes Jumbam to conferences, workshops, language immersion programs, translation courses, creative writing workshops, academic programs, radio shows, and further studies and meetings in specialized academic disciplines across France, Spain, America, and Canada. Thanks to his academic and intellectual development and transformation,
I hope you are moving
Jumbam
towards the
evolves
end.
from the shy character at the start of his memoir to someone who discovers his passion, develops his full potential, and acquired fun skills in public speaking, language proficiency, creative writing, journalism, and transformation. And it should,
Lola,
however, be
please.
noted that
Time seems not to be on our
an
side.
attempt.
I hope you are about to conclude.
Okay. Okay. Yes,
the full review can always be
I mentioned
posted on the
narrative
website.
technique. I mentioned narrative technique. I mentioned the technique of characterization, and I equally talked about the school system in Manawa Bay with its bilingual nature as some of the structures that represent not only history, but a bicultural post-colonial state, which also constitute the focus of the work, or the way I interpreted the work. And I said here that Jumbam, by using that bicultural, bilingual nature of the education system as man of war, he is
Thank you so much. The full length of the review is going to be posted on the Spears website, so I think our readers are going to
which is inherent in Cameroon's political discourse. Just to conclude, just a minute in conclusion, it is safer to rely on the overwhelming autobiography. The perspective that largely orientates the story of consolatory quest for intellectual fulfillment is the collective psyche of the ethnic community to which Jumbam belongs. Thank you so much, and sorry for taking too much of the time. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a beautiful listen. So yes, so it's a very enticing and insightful review. We just want to say that the entire review will be published on the website of PS Media. So I think our
That's
viewers
okay.
can actually. But thank you for that wonderful review.
That's
and
okay.
Just to say that we have an order from Simolen Womila, who has ordered 3 copies of the book. Please keep your pledges coming, keep your orders coming in. Thank you so much. So we're going to move now to the second reading of an excerpt from the book, which will be done by none other than Kefen Budji. I saw Kefen, yeah, from the very beginning of, yes, I'm sure Kefen is there. Please, Kefen.
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, Kefen is there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to be reading an excerpt from the start of the book, and it's an excerpt that talks about how tradition and Christianity mix in Jumbam's life.
Just
very briefly, don't worry.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, don't worry, got it.
Great.
Okay, floating between two worlds. I knew many villagers who floated fluidly between the two worlds, worshipping in church in the morning and bowing down to the ancestral gods at night. There were exceptions, though. My father, Pa Matthias Jumbam, and my mother, Mama Lucella Labe, were among those who had their feet firmly buried in church. There was no question of any of us, their children, ever going within 100 yards of traditional shrines or participating actively or passively in any traditional practices at the palace where the traditional ruler, the Fon, dwelled with his family of numerous wives and children, or in other big compounds headed by powerful family heads, hierarchically ranked as Shei, Fai, or Shufai. That is why we grew up in our own household, totally isolated from and ignorant of the world of traditional religious practices. When it came to church activities, however, we had to be present at evening prayers set around the hearth of my mother's house just before we went to bed. Attendance at such prayer sessions was obligatory unless one had a legitimate reason to be absent, which could only be illness or absence from the village. Before starting primary school, children of my age first had to attend doctrine classes in preparation for First Holy Communion. As young boys, we all knew that receiving Holy Communion was just one step closer to frequent encounters with Farangi, as we were required to serve as altar boys. This increased our chances of being kicked in the behind or slapped across the face, even at the height of the celebration of Holy Mass. In fact, any young boy or girl who ever came close to him stood a good chance of receiving a knock on the head with his hand or with the big prayer book he always carried in his hand as he walked around inside or outside the church, murmuring things from it. It was usually in the evenings that he would be seen pacing up and down the yard, his prayer book open in his hands. We all knew better not to play anywhere near him, as he would always beckon on us to come nearer to be rewarded with a knock on the head. It was not rare for him to leave the altar and rush down to a pew to slap a woman who might have allowed her child to stray from her, or whose child interrupted the Mass by crying or running around loose. He even awoke one poor man during his homily with a solid slap as he was dozing, nodding back and forth. The poor man skipped off his seat and nearly crashed into the group of women sitting ahead of him. Amid laughter from the congregation, which ceased as soon as Farangi turned his stern look at them, the poor man took to his heels, stormed out, and was never seen in church again. The Dutchman had a good way of chasing many a potential Christian back into the waiting arms of paganism. My confrontation with him came much later, as it was bound to come. When you ask, buy the book to find out.
Great teaser there, Budji, and yes, the story of Farangi in that book can, I mean, it echoes across, you know, the national landscape. I mean, every community had its own cognates or version of Farangi. Father John Williet, who also was the you know, that enigmatic father in Bumlan and also part of Mso, from where our author comes, and many other similar figures, you know, priests, Catholic priests with the same character traits. And I like the way the author captures it with the subtlety, avoiding unidimensional kind of description, you know, the complexity of the Reverend Father, because he also had his own good side. So thank you very much. Now we're going to listen to the author. But before we do so, I want to acknowledge that Ian Fowler just ordered a copy, and I think more are doing same. And yes, I also want to acknowledge the presence of Tange Peter, one of those wonderful literati that we have amongst us, and yeah, who I know would also devour this book. I'm sure he already has a copy, because I see a lot of things that echo also in some of the things we've discussed. So thank you very much. And now we're going to listen to the authorial voice. So Martin, yeah, we're listening to you. Yes, to unmute you. Yes, I've unmuted you. You can now. Yes, please go.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Let me read a section here, very, very short as well, so that time is of the essence, so that we will not be held back. I'm reading from the last part of the book here, the final part of the book, which when we are coming back to Cameroon, and my wife and my daughter were coming back to Cameroon in 1984, I believe it was. And Cameroon, strangely enough, you say that now, it looks a horrible thing to say, but Cameroon was a country where everybody, or those of us who studied outside the country in the 70s and 80s, were all rushing back to Cameroon. We had to go back. That was a land to go back to. You know, right now people are rushing out of it and across the desert and dying in the Mediterranean, unfortunately. But things were not that bad. When we were here, we left, and the High Commission in Ottawa, Canada, paid our way back to Cameroon, sent us an air ticket for me and my wife and my daughter, Simolene, and we went back to Cameroon. Others who came after me, Dr. Linus Assong, who is also peace to his soul, great writer, also had his family repatriated to Cameroon through the High Commission in Canada. So, well, this is a section here of when we flew out of Edmonton. We flew out of Edmonton one bright sunny morning in the month of July 1984. We had a stopover of a few hours in Montreal, Quebec, before the long haul to Paris. We arrived just on time for our connecting flight by Cameroon Airlines to Douala. As soon as we took our seats, I knew we were back home. The volume of laughter and animated discussions prior to departure and throughout the flight showed me that we were back home. Then, the rudeness of air hostesses was a sharp contrast to the air hostesses aboard Air Canada, and that too was a clear indication, had to accept that we were truly back home. On Air Canada, the hostesses wore smiles on their faces and always had a sweet word for our daughter each time they came around. They had no problem letting me eat first while Micah, my wife, took care of Simolene, our daughter. Then I would in turn take care of her while Micah's food was served. Aboard Cameroon Airlines, however, hardly any hostess smiled, and one of them was particularly disagreeable. When she came to serve us, I asked if she could serve me first and Micah later. He did not only refuse, but was quite vocal about it, speaking out loud for everyone around to hear about how unreasonable some people could be. Did I not know that there was a time to eat and a time for them to collect the dishes? At one moment, she even shouted at Micah when Simolene was restlessly pushing things around. Vous ne pouvez pas tenir votre enfant là, madame, s'il vous plaît. Can't you take care of your baby, madame? Before walking away, a frown on her face, she muttered something about women who gave birth to babies and could not take care of them. And I even heard people who thought what she said was funny, laughing. It was a patience-taxing experience which showed us that we were truly back home. I don't know, I think the rest we may have to get the book.
Yes, please.
find out what happens next, Mr.
Yes,
Wilson.
and the final end actually of the book is really interesting, and it's one of my highlights actually in this book. Thank you so much. Welcome to Cameroon, post-colonial homegoing. Welcome back home. Welcome back home. Post-colonial homegoing, as one author called it. Okay, that's wonderful. And keep your orders and your pledges coming in, please. And yes, just Fossey Mary saying greetings to everyone and congratulations to Martin once more. This is a great work, which I sincerely encourage all young people and even elders like us to read. The groundworks of neocolonialism. So yes, it's full of history actually. It's a personal story, but within this the backdrop of very insightful historical narratives. This is the richness of this book. Thank you so much, Martin, for rendering that in your own voice. We are now at the threshold of a very interesting juncture of our program, which everyone looks up to. That is the book quiz, the book giveaway quiz. And we're going to learn how much we know or we do not know about the author, his life and his works. So now I'm going to hand over the microphone to Lillian to coordinate this phase of our program. Lillian, the quiz.
Sure, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening, wherever you're joining us from. Thank you for being here today to celebrate this book and this incredible, prolific author. So as a fun way to get to know the author and also the book and also our press, we have a fun quiz. I put a link in the chat. Please click on that. It will bring you to the quiz and you will participate and the top winners get a prize, and we will be shipping books only to people in the USA. We apologize for that. So if you participate, you get a prize. Jude, could you just say what those books are that win?
Okay, let's see where it's coming from.
You had money. Where has it gone?
Yesterday was 65.
From John Neba.
This is what is left.
All right.
I think we'll just mute all.
Looks like we
Francis.
can control room, please.
Just mute everybody.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Everybody's muted. So we apologize for that. Yes, I can hear you. Can everybody hear me?
Something.
Your thumbs up. Yes, Jude, go ahead.
All right, we need to unmute the moderator.
Yes, I just want to say that the top prize for this quiz is going to be a book by my own former professor from Economal, that's Babila Motia, and the book is The Vacuum Chamber. He's a terrific writer, so please work hard to earn this prize. I know what is hidden in that book. So, and the second prize will be another wonderful text, Shades of Sorrow, Tears and Laughter by Beatrice Bime. Great.
The poetry collection. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so please check the link in the chat and just click on there. You will be joining the quiz, and I'll share my screen here in a moment. I see 5 people here already. We need more. So 6 people joined. So I'm going to give you some clues about how to win and win well in this quiz. It's about speed and accuracy. So when the questions come up, when you respond, how soon you respond and how accurate your responses are will get you more marks. So think about that when you are responding. Okay, can you all see my screen? I hope so. Okay. So we have 9 players. When we get 10, please use your real names so that we can put that in the chat or contact you in the chat to send your address.
I just wish to let viewers know that they can actually unmute and say something if they wish so. So the unmute button is enabled for our participants, just in case they have.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Thank you. So we are going to start the quiz. Okay. First question. And sorry, I have things appearing on my screen. Admit. Okay. What did the author study at the University of Yaoundé? If you were here for the intro, you have a clue there. 5 seconds left. Great, 4 people have that right. English, French, bilingual studies. Let's see who got that the fastest. Nicholas. Very good. Let's go to the next question. We have 11 players ready.
Oh, a full team.
So we have 10 questions. You have a chance. The author expresses great admiration for one particular professor. Who is that? There's 4 of them listed here. Oh, everybody, it looks like that was a very easy one. So Professor Bernard von Long is one professor who has had a really, really big influence on his life. Okay, let's see. 5 of you got that right. How many? Who got it fastest? Looks like Aloysius got it fastest and now has displaced Nicholas on the top. Okay, and there's a QR code there. If you haven't been able to join, you can bring your camera there and it will take you to the quiz. 3rd question. Where did he study translation and interpretation? How well do you know the author? Yeah, quite a split. So he studied at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. and not Montreal, which everybody I'm sure assumed is because of the French. So let's see of the 2 people who got that right, who got it fastest. Cecile got it fastest. Well done. And I don't know if you can see the background of the slide. I was trying to get the Highlands of Nkar reflected there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, question number 4. Okay, we have 9 people ready. Let's proceed. Oh, sorry. Question 4. The author has worked for these 2 media organizations. Okay. Very good. 4 people got that correctly. It's worked for Le Fort Camerounais and Radio Veritas. And let's see how that changes the leaderboard. Cecile got it fastest and it's still at the top. Nicholas has jumped down and is in 4th position, but there's still hope. Okay. Next question, 5. Who, with the help of the author, published My Knife in Captivity, which is also published by Spears? Very good. Very, very good. You all know the author very well. You know Spears too, which is nice. So My Knight in Captivity was co-published with His Eminence Cardinal, Christian Cardinal Toomey. And as Jude said earlier, we have that on sale on our website today, and you can place an order for that. So of the 5 people, let's see who got it fastest and what changes. Okay. Cecile is still on a roll, and things are also changing at the bottom here. Well done, Stacy. Okay, next question. Question 6. This one is going to be about Spears. What year was Spears Media founded? So let's see. Oh, Nice. One person got that right. You should have seen the clue on our backgrounds here. Okay, well done. Was founded in 2014 and we're celebrating 10 years this year. Let's see, the one person who got that right, Aloysius. Well done. So that might change things at the top a little bit. A little bit. Okay. So there's still room to catch up. Question 7. How many titles has the press published as an open access books? Take a wild guess. 6 titles, and you can find those on our website. One person got it right. Well done, Stacy. Was that guesswork or you actually know? Thank you.
Thank you. I guessed.
Okay, well guessed. Okay, there's still room, 2 more. What was the first fictional work published by the press? Okay, it was Boundless, and the author is right here. I hope it's the author who got it right. For your sake. Let's see. Oh, nice. Stacey, did you guess again? So our first
I did.
Oh, nice. Our first work of fiction is actually a historical fiction book was published. It's Boundless by Kefen Budji, was here earlier and read a piece, a section from Martin Jumbam's work that we're launching today. So that was our first work of fiction. Thank you. Question 9 of 10. We're getting close. Our youngest author wrote the following book. Which book? Was it Adman, the Quacky Rapid Trash Book, CB's Adventures, or Little Gabriel Starts to Read? The correct answer is Adman. I forgot what year it was published, but how old is that author again, Jude? It was like 12, I think.
Yes, 12.
Yeah, okay. So nobody got that right. And so things don't change on the board. Final question. Anybody with a chance to steal? It's your chance. So press has published authors from all but one of these countries. Take a wild guess. Oh, wow. Very well guessed. Yes, Uganda is the correct answer. Well done. Well done to everyone. And that's the end. And let's see how things shaped up there at the end. Anthony got it the fastest, but Aloysius was leading, so Aloysius wins. Congratulations to you.
Congrats.
Cecile is the second, so Aloysius will get a copy of Babila Mutier's book, and Cecile will get a copy of the poetry collection. Thank you.
Congrats, Aloys and Cecile for their brilliant performances. Wonderful. Seemingly simple, but quite intriguing questions over there. And yes, this is a wonderful phase of the program. And Uganda, we are coming for you. We have wonderful authors in Uganda, some of them whom I know personally, poetry, short stories. So PS is gradually but surely conquering Africa and beyond. So please, this is the place to be, quality publishing. And now I also want to acknowledge the comments. Ian has kept the comment section quite busy with very nice comments. He's unable to say something, but he said, I mean, the story about the airport also connects with his own experiences with his own experiences with the bus. Of course, that's the aim of memoirs, also encouraging us to tell our own stories. You know, when you connect, you can also tell your own story. And I see a lot of connecting points in this work by Martin Jumbam. So we're going to move now to the next point on our agenda, on our time plan. We have marketing time. In other words, advert time. And Judy's going to coordinate that for us.
Do people want to take a musical break?
I'm sure.
Maybe just to stretch their legs before we get into the next phase.
That would be great.
All right, just give me a second. I should be able to
Okay.
find something here. 1 second.
Then so I'm also blessed with wonderful musicians. I mean, Richard Kings is there, and many others. So I'm sure we won't lack something to grace our audience with.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah. Really Huawei.
Jiwira turo décourager. Mon ami, faut travailler. Même si ça ne va pas jamais décourager.
Great musical interlude by our own Chili Wawaye, featuring Mr. Leo. Chili is a phenomenon. I've known Chili when she was just beginning, and she resiliently kept up, with the energy. And I would say Chili actually is a designer of most of the costumes that you see there. That's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful talent. And I know Chili's growth process quite well. And yeah, thank you so much for that wonderful interlude, Jude. You choose the rightful tunes, Great. So, Jude, you have the floor for the commercial. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just want to thank those who've been placing their orders. This is just additional information. I wanted to say a few things about rating the book. When you read a good book, you want to recommend it. You don't want to keep it to yourself. Often because books are full of stories, enchanting stories. And sometimes you want to have conversations with people who have read that book so you can talk about your reactions. And so this is a good opportunity for our attendees to recommend this book to their friends, to their family, to whoever is interested in good books. And there are two platforms that we are recommending. You can rate this book, give it the maximum number of stars if you think it deserves it on Amazon. There is the link there that we have posted. And then, of course, you can also go to the Spears website and post your review there. So you can also rate it, give it 5 stars if you think it deserves. I think this is a book that deserves 5 stars. If you happen to agree with me, go ahead and do that. And then there are other platforms. You'd find this book in many, many other platforms. For those of you who are avid readers, you probably should know goodreads.com. If you don't know goodreads.com as a reader, then you're probably missing out. We think this book deserves to be on goodreads.com as well. I haven't checked lately, but I suspect it's there. And so that's another platform that you may want to also give the book the maximum rating that you think it deserves. So again, this is just informational. The last piece I would like to share with everyone is that for those who are based in Europe and the Americas, if you happen to purchase from our website, you have free shipping if you buy for $50. So it doesn't matter how many books you buy, we would honor that with free shipping. And that applies with the book that we are launching today. If you buy a couple of copies, I believe 3 copies, you would have free shipping. And so we try to run some of these promotions, again, just to, support our authors, support the press, and we encourage people to buy directly from the press as well. Just so you know, Amazon takes 40% discount instantly. Well, cut, not discount. They take an instant 40% cut from every purchase you make. So that's not good for the author and it's not good for us. And so if you want to support our work, buy from our platform, buy from the press. That also translates into more royalty going to the author. So thank you, Gilbert.
Okay, thank you very much, Jude. And yes, keep your pledges coming in, please, and comments. But now we're going to a very important phase, our interaction with the author. And this is a space where I could have turned it into an interview with the author, because I've read this book twice, and creative nonfiction is a domain that I've actually taught in that domain. But I want to give the chance actually to our audience, to really interact as much as possible with the author. We have about 20 minutes for that exercise. Somebody's asking, where is the link for purchases on press? I'm sure Jude will share a link to that effect.
We'll share that, yes.
Yes,
Gilbert, I just wanted to say, I'm looking at my timer here. We have slightly about 30 minutes plus.
Okay, so that was just a way of saying that we should keep our
comments short. Yes.
Yes,
Sorry.
quite straight to go straight to the point, and so that we give space for others to also chip in theirs. Comments are also welcome. It mustn't necessarily be questions. Please engage the author at this moment. You can, of course, raise your hand and then unmute to speak, as well as if you're unable, like Ian said earlier on, you can also just drop a comment, and I'm going to relay that to the author and to the entire audience. So please, Martin is at your disposal now. Maybe while you are sharpening your your questions and getting your comments ready, I can just begin to interact with Martin. Yes, Martin. Wonderful read, as I say, twice. Yes, twice I've gone through this text, and as with your earlier publication, whenever I begin reading your book, I don't stop. Yes, I don't have the luxury of stopping. Just like it's so coherent, the end of the previous chapter leads me to the next. So I really found it a terrific and tremendous read. So I just want to inquire, most of the events and the things that you narrate in this book took place far back, from birth to primary school days, more than 50 years ago. And you narrate with such vividness, with such attention to detail, captured in succinct language, expression. And I can understand why, some of the renowned authors like Chinua Achebe, you narrate your encounters with them. And I also see a lot of, that subtlety in style, in the way you also narrate. So, and I'm wondering, how did you remember? So the process of remembering years and almost half a century later, how could you remember, capture with their minutes here, like the emotions, what you felt at a particular moment, the detail of people's dressing, with such, perspicacity? How did you do that? What aided you in the remembering process?
Well, usually sometimes things stick to my mind and they seem to remain there. So when I'm writing something, that's what we call a memory recall in writing memoirs or autobiographies. How much of the past do you remember, and how much of the past do you remember and are willing to share with people? Somehow it sticks to my mind. When I sit back and I reflect on my time growing up in the village in Nkar, especially, and then going over to Tabinke, Binju, and so on. So many of those things come to mind very vividly. I can't tell you exactly how it happens. It's just that when I go fishing in in my memory box or something, those things just pop up and they seem to stick in my mind. And sometimes when it does and I don't write them down, I'm very restless. That's where the writing sometimes comes in as a therapy, the therapeutic aspect of writing, where an idea grabs you, and unless you let it out on paper, it doesn't go away. So and as a way of writing, and it's something which I would recommend. You mentioned earlier that we all have stories to tell, stories of our life, and I think that's an important thing to let people know that we all have our stories to tell, our background stories, or what had happened to us at one time or another, And it is for us to let that out. And if we can't do it ourselves, there are people, and some of us who are ghostwriters, we can help in that memory. But, your question was, how does it just simply sits there, And when I sit down to write, those things come very vividly. I really can't tell you how or why, but that's the way it is.
Great. I mean, thank you so much. I mean, we actually saw it in bits of memory. But bits of memory is, I see it's a different genre in my reading, because there it's kind of fictionalized. One can say that it's not, it's a fictionalized memoir. But this is a memoir where you actually want to tell the truth as it occurred. I mean, so there was like that desire to be faithful to things as they happened, and I found that you captured the past with such vividness, and
the challenge, the challenge is always when you're writing, especially when you're writing something that is true, and people can identify people you are referring to in your work. It's always how much of what you know, even about people, are you willing to reveal, you see? Because there's no, your writing is, you always have to battle with this. So do I have to reveal something I know about somebody? How is that person going to take it? Even if the person is no longer with us, how is the family going to take members who know? So those are things you balance. And then you say, okay, is this really worth revealing? Are you revealing it just for the sake of revealing it? Or is this something, if it is something somebody did, which was very good, well, yes, for heaven's sake, go ahead and praise the person, very vividly. I worked with Christian Cardinal Toomey for very many years, and what he always told me was, if an employee does something bad, call the employee to your office and tell him or her off if you want to in your office. But once you leave your office, don't let anybody see a frown on your face. But once you see an employee doing something good, praise that employee in front of others, so that others, take it from there, which is always something. It's always that. How much of your writing, what you remember from your primary school days, from your travel, your family members, are you willing to let others know? Yeah, so that is those things things to take into consideration when you're writing a memoir or writing your autobiography. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I mean, and you also preempted a question that I was going to ask about the ethical dimension of memoir writing. How much
dimension
exactly are you going to reveal? But I must say that you did it so well. I mean, like in not just opting for a unidimensional depiction of people, but showing as much as possible the complexity of the human. Because also the protagonist himself is not painted only in florid light. It's also a complete human, a round character, Right. So and it would be very disappointing to read a memoir where the protagonist is painted like a saint, but you actually come out also to paint your own weaknesses. And there's something also about the way you paint your late father. He was imbued with such humility that he actually could admit. I remember him apologizing to your sister Monica. As a girl child, she didn't have the opportunity of going to school like others, and your father actually apologized, to her.
He did.
Yes, so this is quite important.
Because in those days, it was only the children of the teachers in schools. But the teachers were only people who were sending their children to school. To the rest of the others, they just said, no, women are there to get married and have children. And it was to my father's credit that he later on realized that he had done something wrong, and admitted it openly. So yeah, and my sister understood. Said, well, the past is the past. That was it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Martin, for that encompassing response. And I think members of the audience have questions, I'm sure. Please.
There are some questions in the chat. Can you take a look at the chat?
I'm going through, and
yes. There's one from Henry Kefen.
Okay, from Henry Kefen, yes. Just wondering, what else do we need to do to ensure our people can go back to reading books? General.
That is the $1 million question, I guess. I tell you what, a few weeks ago, just a week or so ago, I was in with Kefen in Notre Dame in Indiana, and we were in a conference, and some of those questions came up, even with highly intellectual people in those conferences. The question was, what is happening to the reading culture, even here in America? It seems to be all over the world. Here, of course, much less than it is back home. Back home is a question of how do we get our people to read? And that question coming from Henry Kefen doesn't surprise me. I'm in groups with Henry Kefen, and Henry literally puts his books he has at the disposal of people and encourage them to borrow the books and read. But I don't think anyway, perhaps few people do, but Henry is really leading in that aspect of trying to get our people to read, bring back the reading culture we once had, And I remember once we had it with a journalist in the Catholic media. Once I asked him, when was the last time you read a book? And the question was, oh, I don't remember. I read it in secondary school, and I don't have the time for that. And I say, hey, listen, that's the reason I'm asking is because your work clearly shows that you are not reading anything. Reading messages on WhatsApp or on Twitter is not really the way to go to improve your reading skills. That one is certainly not it. So that is a question. I mean, some of you who are teaching in universities and all may give a better answer to that question than I can do. I just observe it, and Henry Kefen's question is quite something placed on the table, for us all to examine and see how can we encourage our people to go back to to build a reading culture, or even to take it seriously. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. And what we are doing now through this platform is part of it. Okay. Joyce has her hand up. Yeah, Joyce Ash, please. Let me unmute you. Yes, you are unmuted. You can. Yes.
I just want to comment on this idea of reading. I think sometimes we may be looking back with nostalgia, and sometimes when we look back, that gaze may not be as accurate as we think. When did we really read for pleasure? For the most part, we read through the school. Most of the books we read in the past were through the school system. And how many people read for pleasure many years ago? The Things Fall Apart and all those books we read, Merchant of Venice, it was through the school system. Very few people read at home. Are we saying that we still don't have those students reading? I think one of the problems that we have with the reading culture in the past and today is that it's a very bourgeois activity. It needs space. It needs light. It needs a room of one's own. We don't have that. That is something that I found when I was working on my book, Landscaping Postcoloniality, that even those who want to read, to carve that space, there's a lot of noise in our typical African household. To hold a book, you need space. You need lighting. You need a certain atmosphere that is not there. So what does that mean? That means that in order for us to actually create that room to read, it has to be intentional, And I think when I see Jude's comment on the chat forum, doing book clubs, what you said, Mr. Kefen, does. If we don't get intentional like that, we will not read, because our African environment is not tuned towards that. Our activities by nature are communal. We come together and dance Mbolombo. We dance, we sing, we clap, we do. Reading is individualistic. It's alone. So it's counterculture. It's counter what we know. So this whole idea of a reading, we really have to approach it from an intentional thing. It's not something that is just organic from an African perspective.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you don't mind, we did something in Douala several years ago. We created what we call a Douala Literary Club. And we actually got people together, and someone would stand in front of the group and just read. And there was so much pleasure in that, listening to somebody read, And so we find few of that these days, which is something we tried to develop back in the 80s and 90s in Douala. And we had the cooperation of CRTV, where they would allow us sometimes to go to the radio and read our works to the audience. And the response was really tremendous. People like to, even if they don't want to read themselves, they like to listen to a good story read to them. So that may be one area too for us to look at and say, hey, let's maybe create these book clubs and really and read books. What you were doing, I think you still had your book club is still alive with Dr. J, where you also had.
Yes, I had a book club online on Facebook.
People will read and then get together and discuss what they have read, which is one way to go, I think.
Great. I think there's one person who wants to add to that, to add something to that discussion. Edwin Kimbo, I think. I'm now exercising my LAMSA pronunciational skills. Edwin Kimbo, please. Yes, you're unmuted. You can go on now, please.
Okay. Yeah, this is Dr. Kimbo calling from California. I just want to say congrats to Martin and to this Spears group for, continuing this literary effort. And let me just go back to this question that Keven raised. I want to find out what is the place of audiobooks to be a part of that solution. Technology is taking over a lot in our lives and people are getting busier. Do we feel like if we had these books, not only in hard copy, but in audio, that a lot of people would be able to, cultivate that habit and, listen to the audios. And at the same time, once you listen to the audios, you might get to a point where you're saying, okay, why don't I, in my leisure time, kind of read the book, buy the book, the hard copy, and read it. It's just my 2 cents. I don't know what you guys think about it.
Yes.
Before I let perhaps Dr. J or Gilbert say something, Spears' book and I, we looked at My Night in Captivity with Christian Cardinal Toomey, which I put in audio form. But then, the difficulty I had was not having the right equipment, something which could put the book out in a good form for people to listen to. But just to say that, that desire for audio books, I've had many people talk to me about that. They say, all these things you write, if you put them in an audio form, where I will listen to it in my car when I'm driving, when I'm going somewhere. So it is a point well raised there, which is worth looking into. But I did once try and then saw that sometimes I didn't have the technology ready at hand to work on that. But I haven't rolled that out altogether. Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Kimbo, that's something that Spears Media has been exploring with a wide variety of books published by Spears. So yes, having audiobooks, and as you've said, it might not be produced as an endpoint, but also some sort of invitational, to invite the reader to maybe at some point get to that solitary process of reading the printed copy. And maybe that also explains, like the necessity of having also like audiobooks. We see the popularity of slam poetry. That's something that is budding, and it also has a growing importance back home. We've actually also highlighted the work of some of those slam poets from whom here on this platform, I think we had some of the slam poets who belong to slam poetry groups in Bamenda, Buya. Their works were actually portrayed also on during one of our events, our poetry events, I think on here on Spears Media. So several ways we also have to catch up with the advances of modern technology, and maybe also not look at reading as that solitary, moments of encounter with the book, but also like, move with the times for sure. And I think SPS is also exploring that, and hopefully we are going to have a number of books published by SPS in audio forms in the nearest future. I think many people want to contribute to this discussion. I see Lola's hand up. Lola, yes, unmuting you so you can, yes, please.
Yes. I have a question for the
Okay.
author. Am I coming across, please?
Yes, you
Yes,
are.
yes. Okay, so it's a question and not, okay. Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, I want to take us away from the reading culture question. Mr. Jumbam, when I read your narrative, like your other works, I find a lot of things intriguing. And one of that is that as your use of language, your use of thematics, your fascinating descriptions that can trigger discussions around discourses. I'm thinking about historicizing text. I'm thinking about discourses of memory. I'm thinking about minority discourses. But there's this particular aspect of your work, your narrative style. Now, my worry is, what advice will you give to someone, probably a beginner who wants to write a novel?
That's a good question. My advice would be, Gilbert mentioned that earlier about us reading other people's works. If you're going to write a novel, you must first of all get an idea of how other people have written novels in the past, you see. So we need to read extensively and choose our style. When I started writing, I was more attracted to the writings of, say, Chinua Achebe than I was to the writings of Wole Soyinka. Great writers in Africa. Wole Soyinka is a Nobel Prize laureate, but I'm almost instinctively attracted to Chinua Achebe because I'm somebody who likes simplicity in writing. I like to get things very clearly across so that language does not interfere with the message that I have to. The language should serve as a tool to carry the message I have across and not interfere in the writing. So I try as much as possible to do that. And let me just bring an example comes to mind here. And it's come from Christian Cardinal Toomey. We mentioned that he has one of the Spears authors, peace to his soul. Once I remember writing something, an editorial for Le Fort Camerounais. I took it to him and he read it and he said, "Who are you writing for?" And I said, "Well, Eminence, I'm writing for Le Fort Camerounais." And he said, "No, you're not writing for my paper. You're writing for your university people. You're thinking of university." So the question of audience comes to mind here. You must, who are you writing for? Was the question he asked me. I mean, this is over 30 years ago. I'm still sometimes struggling to understand that. So that the question, and you cannot get to a point where you're not, you must reflect on what you're writing and reflect on your audience. How are they going to take it? So first of all, you must read other people's works. You're not. It's not rocket science. You're using language, and you have to know how other people are using language. In my Catholic tradition, writers, somebody like the writings of St. Augustine, the Confessions of St. Augustine, a classic work. They're written, almost 1800 years ago. But you pick it up and read very clearly because it's very clear, straightforward. you know, the Homer, the Odyssey, and all these great Greek writers, and the Aeneid. Those are everlasting work because they are simply written. That is my approach to writing. You know, I prefer to go for the simplicity of the word, but most importantly, you must read what other people have written. You know, so that will be my advice to anybody starting. You want to write a novel, know what novel writing is. You want to write a memoir, read other people who have written these things, because we are not inventing anything. We're not inventing the wheel. It's already there. You know? Okay. I don't know whether I'm clear on that. Perhaps, please.
Yeah, I think it's quite true to the point. Okay. Yes, I think it's quite straight to the point, and that question, for whom are we writing? I think has been a very central question in the works of several African authors. Ngugi wa Thiong'o also, whose style I would say is not, though not the same, but also very much in that direction of wanting to reach an audience. Just like Chinua Achebe. So I think you've answered that question very satisfactorily. Lola has written a review, so of course we'll allow others to speak now. And I see a question in the comment section. That's from Fossey Mary. The part of the book about the holy hole, yes. That's someone who has read the book. Did Martin, as a grown-up, ever find out what was really so important about that spot in the church compound? Was it a myth or reality?
Oh, Mary. Well, yeah, I showed that you've read the book. Good to see you with us, Mary. You know, it was just a hole outside, beside the church. I don't know what was so important about that. That's why my friend and I went to look into that hole to see what was in it. And what we found nothing in it except that they used to dump burnt remains of candles and things in there. So and we picked up some of those. I mean, we couldn't really understand. I don't think it was anything. I can't tell you where that myth came from. It was definitely a myth. It was just a hole by the church where the priests used to dump broken pieces of candle or what they cleaned from the altar. They would put it there. It was really nothing. But, you know, it had such a significance to us. I mean, we had to find out what was in there. So
and what followed?
A very small part of it, and that's what sticks in your mind.
What followed is left for the reader to detect that. You know, we will not go into the details of what followed that attempt to peep into the hole. There's a comment by Ian Fowler. In my 50 years of life, partly spent in Anglophone Cameroon, I have witnessed the very fine and, I mean, my screen doesn't permit me to read all the, okay.
You want me to read it? In my 50 years
Yeah, please. I mean,
partly spent in Anglophone Cameroon, I have witnessed the very fine and glorious fluorescence of literacy. It is very difficult to preserve paper books in a tropical climate. And as Joyce rightly says, the conditions that promote private reading are not available to everyone. Over the last 25 years, I have seen the progression from having no phones at all to many people having magic phones with the world and all its knowledge a key press away. Phones can provide a medium for reading, but there is an issue. I ordered my volume from Amazon, not knowing what Jude told us about the cost to the author and publisher. Amazon offered me a digital copy for free. That is not helpful to the author or the publisher. My home is full of physical books. I love books, but that is not the future, nor really the present for a new generation born with modern technology built into their bodily systems. How do we go forward?
Wow.
That's a good question. And maybe the publishers.
Yeah, like I said earlier, we do have those audiobooks in the works. And I've just responded to Ian as well. So thank you again for raising that, Ian. All our titles are published in ebook format. So if you see any book that we have, the physical one is there. And then we have the Kindle, we have the Google format, and then a few titles are also available on the Apple platform. And then next year, we hope to start rolling out our audiobook. So we're really excited about that. So just like Martin said, the Cardinals piece will be one of the first to come out as an audiobook. So yeah. So we're trying to keep pace with the developments, and will not be left behind.
Great, great. I think I'm seeing Joyce's hand up. Maybe she wants to chip in. Yes, please. I've unmuted her. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Martin.
Yes.
When I write, when it's even fiction, poetry, not even non-fiction, when a friend tells me that, oh, I just bought your book, I get so self-conscious because it's almost like they're going to see me nude. It's like, oh my God, what are they going to find there? And then I'm thinking, what more of a biography? How do you deal with that? Because I think this is something that some readers don't know, that writers experience. You write, but then you feel so exposed, you know? So do you have that same feeling, and how do you?
Yeah, definitely I do. And there have been some soul searching, you know, on my part. And sometimes somebody raises an issue which I hadn't thought about when I was writing, and you know, and that's why mentioning people's names and you know, remembering what had happened with them is always such a sensitive thing to do, and you have to be very, very, very careful. And you must expect people to say, "Oh no, that's not what happened," or something like that. I remember, let me take you to my brother Kenjo Jumbam, whom you know so well, the white man of God. There's actually someone in the village who thought that my brother had mentioned him in his book. The man couldn't read or write, but he said somebody had told him you mentioned and came to attack him. You know, say, you know, when we were growing up, you always thought that you knew everything better than anybody else. Why did you put my name in your book? And my brother said, "Where is it?" He said, I know you wrote something." And, you know, so the man felt very, very bad that he had been mentioned in the book. He didn't even know what was said about him in the book anyway. But he felt so. Those are the things when you are writing memoirs, or especially autobiography, you must be willing to face those type of questions. Yes. Not everybody is going to agree with you on an event that happened, but what I tell them is, this is how I saw it. You might have seen it differently, but this is how I saw it, you know, so that's the way it goes.
What if when we see things that you don't write, we think that there are things unsaid, like when you're looking at those Seka girls and you don't tell us that there was one there that caught your attention, but we read it and we think you've kept the facts, and we can tell.
No, you can be sure that at that very moment in my life, at that age, you know, those Seka girls were better seen from a distance, not close up at all. As I rightly say, any of them came near me at that age, I would have just run away. It was, you know.
Okay, that's
your legs.
But you know, I know
that's an answer, but
I know you came from Seka. That's your alma mater, but you know.
I'm just pulling your legs.
I know.
Well, I knew Joyce was going to narrow that on this Seka incident, and that's an answer from somebody who has been influenced by St. Augustine's Confessions. So
yeah,
you have Kefen has a hand.
Yeah, Kefen Budji, please. It's your turn.
Okay, yes. Okay, thank you very much. First, I want to commend you on the simplicity of your writing. I really like how simple the work is. Anyone can read and understand. And I really, really like the imagery. Like, you paint such vivid images with your words. That is so beautifully done. I do have a question about Faranji.
Sure.
Just so I'm wondering, why did the villagers give him that name? Because it looks like the process of naming is very central in your work, especially when you're talking about the how tradition and Christianity interact. And I think that name Faranji probably plays a very big role in this whole process. So I was very interested in why the villagers gave him that name. If you can just give us some inside information, that would be very nice. Thank you.
You know, unfortunately, Kefen, I never got the response to that question. Not that I didn't ask, but each person I asked, always came up with something different. You know, I never got to know exactly what brought that name. I see some people here, maybe Edwin and I see Sister Alfonso, who grew up with us in Nkar. I don't know whether any of them had any could give you a clear response as to why that Dutch priest was given the name Faranji. I never got a clear response to that, unfortunately. You know, but when I was writing this, that's one of the things I thought. You know, should I really give his real name? I decided just to call the name everybody was calling him there. I didn't want to give his real name here because I thought, hey, you know, maybe I could touch on a nerve here, which could bring this family from Holland to pounce on me or something. Anyway, you know, I wasn't quite sure what his real name was until I heard it later on when I had completed the book. But I doubt that I would have even brought his name. But I don't know why people gave him that name. So it's really a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Great. A great character. I think one of the most consistently painted character in that text, Faranji. Okay, we're going to wrap up gradually with this very intensive and really enriching Q&A. But there's a comment by John Neighbor. I guess that's my former classmate who also works with the Catholic newspaper in Douala. So yes, writing about our past helps us face the future based on the lessons learned. I wonder why many people do not write about their past. Yes. Oh, my drop-down message also. I mean, Joyce, could you still help me, because my drop-down really prevents me from getting the entire.
Okay.
The comment by John Neighbor, please.
Okay. Yes. So writing about our past helps us face the future based on the lessons learned. I wonder why many people do not write about their past. People, majority in Africa, prefer to look at pictures, watch videos, and would hardly want to write anything useful. Could pictures, audiobooks, etc. be a solution? Thanks for coming up with this great piece, Daddy Martin.
Thank you, John. John is one of our Catholic journalists in Douala. We worked with John a good number of years. Yeah, well, it's exactly what we are discussing here. You know, do people prefer to watch pictures, and or do they, you know, is the question we have been struggling with. You know, we need to encourage our people to write. I mean, John, I would encourage you to come up with your own story. You know, you are a journalist. You work with me for a long time, and maybe you too can, you know, start thinking of writing. You're still very young. I mean, you don't need to write an autobiography. Write a memoir, which is perhaps just a brief piece of your life or something that happened, and we will read. I know you write well. You know, I think the problem with people is that they don't really trust themselves. They think, hey, you know, I don't know that much. Would I really write? It's always that hesitation, that fear that I may not express myself well. But you're right. You don't write and keep it for yourself. Write and let somebody else take a look and give you their opinion. You see, so, you know, I don't know much about pictures as, I don't know, Gilbert or Joyce, what you would call that. Pictures as a literary expression. I don't know much about that, but that could work.
Is John in Cameroon?
John is in Cameroon.
Based in Douala, yes.
Well, I have good news for you, and you're hearing it first because I don't think the news has gone out. I would actually be in Cameroon, and I'll lead a workshop on how to write a family legacy book. And that is happening on between the 21st and 23rd. There's a Cameroon International Tourism Fair in Limbe, and I'll be giving that workshop there. So I'm going to give the information to Jude, and you should be hearing more about that. It should be going out tomorrow. So by God's grace, in a week's time, I should be in Cameroon.
Okay.
Wow, that's wonderful. And
okay, thank you, ma'am. I'll be.
Yes, and one of the
I'll
things
be happy to be part of that. I'll be happy
Yes.
to be part of that initiative. Thank you.
And one of the things we'll be talking about is why our personal stories matter. a lot of times, because of our educational system and all that, we don't value our personal stories. But for us Africans, it becomes even more important because our histories are oral. So when we write our personal stories, that is one way of saving the history that has been oral. So when you look at like this work that we have just, we're discussing, there's so much that is recording there. We don't have museums, we don't have libraries. So a lot of things that Mr. Jumbam has recorded here, this is the only time they're going to be recorded. This is the one place that somebody is going to look back to see this history, to see this cultural memory. So it becomes very important. Our personal stories become very important because they become repositories of our memory, our collective memory. And it doesn't matter, age doesn't matter, because at any age, you have a past to write about. You have your secondary school days, you have your childhood, and you can start memorializing that. You have your parents' story, your grandmother's story. So there's so much of our history that is in the oral sphere that we need to bring in the written sphere. So
wonderful, wonderful inputs, and I mean those comments really summarize what we have in this book. When I was reading this book, I was like down memory lane in this concept of vivre ensemble, and I think that Martin writes with I mean he doesn't write with prejudices, you know, be they ethnic or I mean, being a Catholic, he also has his own way of taking, you know, criticizing, you know, some of the, I mean, so this is a very, very objective book. Very, very encouraging comments from Joyce also. And thank you, John Neba, my classmate from one in Kambe. And what it's a wonderful time. I mean, just to meet you after how many years? 20 and more plus years. So wonderful.
It's great. It's great having you, Dr. Gilbert.
Thank you very much. Okay. So I think we are gradually gliding towards the end of this program. And yeah, the attendance has been wonderful, not just in numbers, but also in the responses, in the engagement. So it's a wonderful, wonderful experience. I mean, we've had a very engaging book launch. And I think that one way in which you can honor this author who has kept up with the energy, giving us this wonderful write-ups, is to buy the book. Buy the book. And I know that are there copies already in Cameroon? I guess so. If not, Martin, are there copies already?
No, not yet, but we're working towards that. Actually, yes. One of the persons of the printers in Cameroon who printed my Bits of Memory, Dr. Hans Nya.
Yeah, yes, I saw Hans Nya, yes.
Yes, you know, I would talk with him to see how we can get the copies out from there. I think he does one good job in Cameroon. I don't know whether he's still around, but that's it. Okay.
Oh, yes, I know Nya Hans personally, and it's wonderful, wonderful guy too. Okay, so thanks to each and everyone who participated in one way or the other to the success of this program. And I would actually give the microphone now to Jude to make some final comments and closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gilbert. This has been really phenomenal. Just like Joyce said earlier, and we're lucky to have her as one of our editorial board members. When we started thinking about this event, the idea of holding a whole workshop on memoir writing came up. And I know both you and Martin, you've sent stuff to me about that. So you probably would hear from Joyce at some stage in the future. This is the Cameroon version, but we are thinking of something hopefully next year that will invite people to think about the importance of, you know, writing their own stories or writing for others, having ghost writers, for example, even just help you tell your story. So it's a very important thing. This is not something that has been common in our community, and we're not, I mean, just like Martin said, there's a lot of vulnerability that comes with, you know, telling your story and exposing yourself, and the sense of you're exposed, you're naked. And so how do we grapple with these kinds of issues? I just want people to know that we're here to support them in that process as they think through it. In fact, I have in the past 1 month had a couple of calls from at least two personalities who are working on something along those lines. One of whom is a former delegate of the Urban Council in Bamenda, who I was just so excited that he finally had agreed to write something. And he said, yes, I want to write something so others who come after me can learn how to run city councils better. So I was like, yes, that's what we're talking about. And so I want to congratulate Mr. Jumbam, first for writing this, for working with us to have it published. Hopefully we will have this version as well in in audiobook format. It's already available as an ebook. So for those who are keen to read the ebook, please get that version. I just want to thank our editorial board members who are all, a good number of them are here. Joyce, Gilbert, Victor was here earlier. Walter, I saw Walter. I think, yes, of course, in the control room was Lillian. Thank you all for supporting and making sure that this is a very smooth and successful launch. The one thing I did not mention was that this was also our way of celebrating the International Day of the African Writer. So when Martin and I were brainstorming on this date, we wanted to do something that was close to this period. And as you know, November 7 is the International Day of the African Writer. And we just want to celebrate all writers as well as readers. Writing would make absolutely no sense if there were no readers. So we want to celebrate that sense of community. To our authors, I've seen quite a good number of them. Mary Fossey was here. She's such a wonderful writer. Thank you for being here. I'm hoping there are others. I don't know. I may have missed. But I just want to thank everybody who took time to be here, and that this is the last of our events for 2024. So you want to stay tuned for the series of events that we'll be holding in 2025, tons and tons of events. We've had 5 book launches this year. So that's a record, I should say.
Yes.
It's a record. And for those of you who are able to make it to Chicago in December, we will be celebrating officially our 10th anniversary. And for those who are not able to make it, please reach out. We'll send your own goodies. Thank you again for being here. And thank you for being here. And please do check out our platforms on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. We go by the handle spearsbooks. So thank you and congratulations again. Over to you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you. Thank you, Jude. Thank you, the Spears team. Thank you to members of the editorial board that are here present. And thanks to each and everyone, because we know we have competing schedules. I mean, for you to have dedicated 2 hours, 30 minutes to be with us and to participate so with such engagement and commitment, we are really grateful. Usually, we are called upon to be good readers, but today the message has been nuanced a bit. Read, but also write. You are encouraged to write. I've not been as lucky as Joyce and Martin to meet Achebe, but when I met Ngugi wa Thiong'o, he told me, don't only read, but also write. And I think some of my books published with Spears have actually been as a result of that encounter. Write, each and everyone has so much to offer to the world. Thank you, and wonderful day to everyone.
Thank you. Do we want to give Martin an opportunity to thank his family and friends?
Yes, Martin, please.
Martin.
Oh, okay. Oh, sure. Well, I thank everyone who could make it here to be with me with the Spears team to celebrate this book. You know, it's quite encouraging when you have this. You know, you feel you can do more. So I thank everyone who was here. Thank Gilbert. You know, I know it's late in Germany now. I don't know what time it is there. And those from Cameroon and Africa, Nigeria, who are here with us, thank you very much for taking your time to be here with us. We continue to celebrate the African Day, the Book Day, and we continue to celebrate writing and sharing our ideas. We need to. And everyone has a story to write, a story to tell. So why don't we tell our stories? So this should be an encouragement to everyone. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
So recording is stopped.